Former crime intelligence CFO Solly Lazarus has been sentenced to 10 years in prison. This from the Pretoria Magistrates court today. But he was then granted leave to appeal and posted bail of 10,000 rand. Now, last year he was found guilty of corruption for using the crime intelligence unit's account to buy vehicles for himself and family members. His subordinate and co-accused, Hein Barnard, was acquitted. Barry Bateman reports.
Former Crime Intelligence Chief Financial Officer Solly Lazarus handed a 10-year prison sentence for corruption here at the Magistrates Court in Pretoria. Now, the magistrate weighed up all the factors when coming to that particular sentence. Of course, in terms of the minimum sentencing regulations, a police officer found guilty of this particular crime ought to receive the minimum of 15 years. While the magistrate taking into account his personal circumstances, his ill health, for example, but this is under control. Also took into account that this crime took place about 10 years ago, and the trial itself has taken about 8 years. But the major factor that weighed on the magistrate when he came to his decision was the seriousness of the crime. Here we had a police officer in a trusted position dealing with the Secret Service account of crime intelligence, and was responsible for buying the covert vehicles for the unit valued at tens of millions of rand. And he abused that position of trust so as to enrich himself. It was corruption worth more than 200,000 rand, which was used to buy a personal vehicle for his daughter, to sponsor a vehicle for himself, and so on. So it was that aspect that the judge, or the magistrate rather, came down and found that nothing less than 10 years would be appropriate given the seriousness of the crime. Now, with me is the investigating directorate spokesperson, Sindisiwe Twala, to tell us a little bit more about their thoughts on the judgment that was handed down today. Sindisiwe, can you just tell me the ID's immediate response to what has happened?
So this is essentially the very first sentencing that the investigating directorate, as part and parcel of the lead prosecutor in this matter, is from the investigating directorate. We're more particularly excited that it comes on the day of International Corruption Day. We must also mention that, like Adrian Becker, Magistrate Adrian Becker did say inside, that this person was a police officer, not just a police officer, but a major general. So 10-year sentence is something that was fitting that he found. But we must also mention that the minimum sentence is 15 years. The deviation was because of weighing up a number of factors that the magistrate did put forward. But we're very excited. We also know that this particular gentleman, as well as various others, still have more court cases against them.
That's right. There is the other matter involving the former head of crime intelligence, Richard Mdluli, which is being moved to the High Court in Pretoria. Is Lazarus involved in that? What is his implication? How has he been implicated there?
For starters, we need to clarify that this particular case, as well as the one that is moving to the Pretoria High Court, is in relation to the slush fund, the money in which was supposed to be used rather for covert missions within that particular unit, but was then abused. We know that him, as well as the other accused, are also part and parcel of that other case. But we must also add that this is something that was spoken extensively at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, which is a feeder commission to what the ID's work is part and parcel of.
Thank you very much, Sindisiwe. Well, there you have it, the important role that the independent investigating directorate is playing, using evidence and feeding off from the information that's come from the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, for example. Barry Bateman, Pretoria.